The cancelled YouTuber to right-wing grifter pipeline is getting completely out of control, and today I want to talk about it and give you another new example. Well, newish, kind of. I'm going to be talking about Deaf Noodles, and that is someone that I didn't expect to be talking about on this channel with, like, dedicating a whole video to them. It's absolutely insane. If you're new here, hi, my name is Rachel, and I make videos about a little bit of everything. We do some book reviews, we do some poetry analysis, we do some social commentary. I talk a lot about feminism, in particular intersectional feminism, and also a lot of like LGBTQ plus rights, and yeah, just kind of anything that interests me at the time and that I think is important to talk about, and I might be able to add something new to the conversation on. If you are new here, hi, it's absolutely lovely to have you, and I would love if you want to stick around and subscribe to my channel. Otherwise, if you've been here a while, thank you so much for coming back, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this down in the comment section. And if you do like this video, please feel free to share it around on social media because that really helps me. So, back in 2021, I, like many other people, used to watch Deaf Noodles' YouTube channel, right? He had this whole like show segment type thing that he called Irrelevant News. It was a pretty quick, mindless way to keep up with what was happening on YouTube, especially when he was talking about creators that I probably wouldn't have really known about otherwise. I'm not exactly cool or like down with the kids. So yeah, there's like a lot of big YouTubers that I'm just like not aware of who they are or anything happening, and so watching like kind of his channel and like drama channels like that was a good way for me to just kind of like try and at least keep a little bit in the loop. And I also felt like he didn't really share a lot of his personal opinions other than making a few stupid jokes here and there. So I guess I never really thought about him, Dennis, the creator of that channel, as a person, if that makes sense. He was just like a stupid guy making stupid jokes, talking about mindless drama, you know? There were a few things that I wasn't a fan of. I wasn't a fan of his thumbnails, which were of the make a person look as stupid as possible to get a lot of clicks variety. I don't really like when channels do that. It bothers me a bit. It's one of the things that I never want to do on my own channel, which, yeah, I admit probably means I don't get as many clicks and views as some channels, but I'm okay with that. I quite like my little mid-sized platform that I've got going. There were a lot of pros and cons to his content that are definitely worth mentioning. So on one hand, he was very quick to make videos on and report on drama and things going on. So you knew you were always getting up-to-date content, and very often he was one of the first people to report on things. You know, he would get the news out there, essentially. The problem with this is, because he was so quick, and he is not like a trained journalist or anything like that, and he was just kind of making content as quickly as possible and churning out as much as possible in as short a time as possible, he wasn't actually doing any fact-checking, and often he would report on things that were later proven to be completely false. With some of the stuff he covered, this wasn't really so much of an issue because, you know, some of it was like, well, influencer X said this about influencer Y, ooh, and it didn't really have big consequences. But then he started to touch on more serious topics, including topics centered around actual crimes like rape or child sexual assault, and there were allegations being made there against certain people that he did not fact check, which later proved to be false, and you can obviously see why there's a lot of problems in regards to that. And also, the fact that like kind of such a silly, non-serious drama creator was talking about these quite serious, heavy topics, but not really giving them the, I guess, the respect or treating them with the seriousness they needed, that was also a bit of a problem. There's also the fact that I do think there were some slightly, well, quite misogynistic undertones to a lot of the, like, jokes that he made. But I guess at the time, like, I didn't really notice that because, like, 90% of male commentary and drama channels are misogynistic. Like, I'm just gonna say it, they are. They can deny it all they want, but they are. Just look at people like Keemstar and Nick Diorio, who, like, they don't hesitate to call me a bitch anytime they want. You know, it's like, okay, great, thanks. Not that they probably even remember who I am now that Gabby Harnett things calm down, but yeah, like, I do think there's like a hell of a lot of misogyny in those male drama creator spaces. So when you had someone like Deaf Noodles who wasn't really doing it as overtly as them, but was doing it a little bit more subtly, you kind of almost didn't notice until you look back and you're like, oh wait, it was there, wasn't it? I'm just going to say today's video is a little bit different from a lot of my content because I'm not going quite as in-depth with things and explaining things in as much detail as I normally do in my videos, because this is more of just like there's like a general point I want to make to this and kind of pose some ideas and questions. So instead of explaining every clip I'm going to show you, I'm just going to kind of let them speak for yourself and use them to kind of back up my points rather than over-explaining.
There's a little bit of love for everyone out there. You just got to get on the right TV show to help you find it. 90 Day Fiancé is an American television show that follows an American and their soon-to-be foreign spouse on their 90-day journey to getting married before their K-1 visa application expires.
And it irritates my scalp, so I found out that mayonnaise makes it smoother and less dry.
Mayonnaise truly has many uses outside of being on a sandwich, like cleaning crayon stains on a wall, or cleaning the keys on a piano, or even being an actual musical instrument.
Mayonnaise is not an instrument.
Never say never with Big Ed. He's willing to go the extra mile.
We're not making any videos to hurt you. We're making videos to talk about our story and our struggle.
I feel so bad for Trisha Paytos. She just wanted to figure out a new and innovative way to talk about herself even more.
It was because of you that we were able to talk about our mental illness that people say, but it's just our reality.
You ever meet those weird people who talk about themselves in the third person? Like, Dennis likes to talk about Dennis because he's Dennis, and that's what Dennises do. Sounds kind of pompous and conceited, right? Now, can you imagine speaking about yourself in the third person plural so you can fake a disorder? Sounds like a clout chaser. Lily's show hasn't been doing that well.
As a brown person, I apologize on Lily's behalf. It sounds like the audience is being held hostage, and whoever laughs the loudest gets minor privileges for the day. As a brown woman, I'm not looking for a brown woman talk show host. I'm looking for someone that makes me laugh.
When are people going to understand that Lily Singh is here to change comedy from a shallow art form that's meant to make you laugh into something profound and highbrow that's meant to make you fall asleep?
You okay?
That was the funniest thing I've ever seen Lily Singh do, ever. I think she should seriously retire because I don't think she can top that.
I like driving, but also maybe not everyone should be allowed to. You know what?
That's a great point by Lily, and it goes hand in hand with her message of equal rights because only the people she likes should be able to do the stuff that everybody else gets to do, just like in a dictatorship. In other news, James Carls Jr., what's going on with him?
I don't think you can note zap your way out of this, James. I'm not trying to get out of anything. No matter what happened, it was unacceptable, embarrassing, and I should have taken the extra steps to research the person I was talking to. There is no excuse. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. This is on me.
Yes, see, folks, James Carls Jr. is taking full accountability by literally admitting for the second time that he literally committed a crime for a second time. Allegedly.
James, and James said, trying to DM you, but it won't work. Check IG, LOL.
Now, folks, before everybody starts rushing to conclusions, I'm pretty sure that James Carls Jr. just wanted to ask the 16-year-old basketball player what shoe size he had, because he wanted to send him a pair of his James Charles sneakers.
Obviously, all the comments started going off.
The internet is so sick, folks. If people just start jumping to conclusions without any evidence, what's wrong with a 16-year-old getting a DM from a 21-year-old who allegedly loves to send out messages that are kind of inappropriate to a few minors, allegedly?
So even bearing all this in mind, I was still shocked to witness his downfall in, I don't know when it was, like maybe 2022-ish it started, something like that, maybe 2023. And it was partly to do with people being concerned about his content, partly to do with some drama with Keemstar or something. Who knows? Keemstar's a piece of rubbish. He's not worth anyone's time or interest at all. I hate him. He's a misogynistic creep. It was also partly to do with the fact that Dennis started to kind of change his content and was almost like a little bit dismissive of his past content, but then his new content wasn't any good. It was really, really awkward to watch. It was very cringy. He tried to open up a comedy club in LA and he would live stream these roast battles that are some of the worst things anyone on the internet has ever seen in terms of just pure cringe and lack of entertainment value. They were something else. I actually remember watching most of it unfold through the Do We Know Them podcast, so I have some clips of the coverage from that time to share with you as well.
He would wear these were they like cat ear headphones?
Yeah.
So, first of all, that to me alone, isn't very strange. But he describes this show and this aesthetic and vibe and the whole premise is that it's a parody and that he's playing a character and that he's a cat in a Minecraft house. Now again, I don't watch Twitch, I don't game, I don't play Minecraft, but just having a Minecraft background and some cat headphones doesn't really feel like much of a character to me. And honestly, I never really knew that it was supposed to be a character until one day Friday, he very matter-of-factly announced that he was shifting his content and that he was no longer going to be the deaf Noodles character and that he was going to be Dennis. So then he started doing the news, and it was honestly, in my opinion, pretty much the same exact thing, except maybe he sounded a little more tired sometimes.
I've seen a few people commenting that they think I'm overdoing the curse words. Well, here's the deal, folks. I killed off that fucking character, and this is how I fucking talk. I use the word fuck as an adjective, an adverb, and a verb. So you better get fucking used to it, because we're gonna fucking say fuck every other fucking word. Can't do it. I just don't have it in me to keep doing the character anymore. I'm sorry. I mean, we're still gonna talk about stuff like that. There's still gonna be some of that stuff in this video. It's just, you know, it's gonna be a little different.
Has been is that his entire fandom, like all the people he got from H3 when he hosted with Ethan, and just everybody that he's gathered to this point, has like kind of turned on him and been like, dude, no, like fuck this.
Okay, well,
when he was getting called out for like by the commentary bros on his way of reporting, which like rare W for them, but like whatever. When he was getting called out by them, he started making a change on his Twitter to when he would address serious topics, he would literally put in the tweet like serious coverage or whatever he would put. This whole thing wasn't a parody. There was serious elements, and he covered literal crime. And you come to find out that he hired two people. One girl is Tiana, and then the guy's name is Israel, who is his editor. And also both of them act in his skits, which has been, I literally, bless your souls. I'm sure like, you know, working for deaf is like, I'm not trying to come for anybody's job or anything, but when they get involved in the skits, it's really uncomfortable to watch.
I demand a recount.
Dennis, this is an election.
Yeah, well, I demand a rewrite. Okay. Anyway. In other news, it's the only way to show the world that we don't give a flying fuck.
Dude, just stop being so self-righteous.
Yeah, but that's what I do.
Nobody cares, you cringe.
Well, at least I didn't take blood money from Qatar. As we all know, integrity is Austin's middle name.
I don't think that's his actual middle name, dumbass.
Okay. Wow.
It's you and me. It's you and me. I'm like the meanest guy on the internet right now. People hate me. We're roasting.
Oh!
Okay, I already fucking... You wearing that dare shirt because you're like, I dare you to run away from me.
So I stopped watching after his joke. That'll be new territory for me soon.
Carrot Top called. He wants his look back.
And that's when I stopped. So now this is all new.
Wait, Cat got your tongue?
No, you
Pussy got your tongue?
Nah, you look like you woke up in a dumpster. Bitch,
Well,
it's
that was
your
supposed to be a
turn.
diss?
Yeah,
I'm
ho.
waiting for something.
If you don't
Tony
shut
Lopez.
the fuck...
Why are you up here?
I'm looking at your teeth because I just can't. It reminds me, you ever see that movie Ed with the horse with the big teeth?
I don't have that big a teeth. I mean, you're just like fishing for something now. You look
Really?
like emo Shaggy.
Emo Shaggy. You're like my cousin if you were a girl.
Thank you. I bet you cried when you got those tattoos.
I did. I did.
He then started to do unhinged live streams where he would just like rant at his viewers and get into arguments with everyone. He would, like I said, get really, really angry with his viewers and audience when they dared criticize him for anything. He then went away for a while, and then he came back, and he was trying to do his irrelevant news segment again, but he had this like AI voiceover of like a woman's voice, and everyone was like, what is this? It was this character that was called Pearl, and she was like, hi, I'm Pearl, meow, 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 meow. It was very clearly AI. And then after a few weeks of that, and it obviously not getting any views, he decided to do a face reveal and was like, it was me the whole time. But even his face reveal was AI. It wasn't actually him recording or speaking or anything like that, because the video and the words didn't sync up. There was lots of awkwardness. There was this like this weird swaying, and like none of it fit together. It was very, very bizarre. So he made like an AI video version of himself and a voiceover version of himself, and he was just creating these AI videos. It was very, very odd.
And then he reappeared on Reddit, on his subreddit. And I remember people questioning, like, is this real? Is this not? He basically went on, and we definitely didn't cover this because it was like heavy and weird. And he essentially said, like, basically tell me why I should stay alive is what he was asking his Reddit. He was like, and he said, he's like, I fucked up. I don't know why I did this. That's why when he reappeared, I wasn't so surprised because I was like, okay, well, he clearly regretted it. He posted on Reddit a million times about like, what did I do? Why did I destroy everything? I destroyed like fucking everything in my life and now I don't know what to do. I don't have money. I don't have anything. He wiped his entire channel. So everything was gone. But now we get to meet Pearl because he recently came back. We'll check the exact date. Let me see. September 3rd, 2024 is when he came and introduced Pearl.
Hey y'all, I'm Pearl and welcome to Irrelevant News. If you're anything like me, you've got a front row seat to all the YouTube craziness, the drama, the feuds, the wild back and forths that keep everyone talking. It's Pearl.
Pearl.
So a lot of you have been curious about my identity, and I just want to say thank you for all the love and support along the way. I've been keeping things under wraps for a while now, but I'm finally ready to reveal who I am. I'm so excited for this next chapter, and I couldn't have gotten here without y'all. Anyway, without further ado, here we go. 3, 2.
I did it again. I guess I'm back. The other guy, yeah, he tried to kill me off, but forgot I'm a cat with 9 lives. Anyway, he got what he deserved.
Anyway, after that, he went away again for a while, and now he's back doing this like right-wing grifting, right? It's like he's gone full, like he's trying to mimic Charlie Kirk, and it's like creepy as hell. Like he started dressing like Charlie Kirk. He's got his hair like Charlie Kirk. He's trying to speak like him. It's very creepy.
Hi, folks. It's been a while. This channel's been through a lot, and so have I. I wasn't really sure if I'd ever post on here again, but lately I've been thinking, maybe there's still something worth saying. It's been 3 years. I've moved on, I've grown, and for the first time in a long time, I feel like myself again. Back then, I was coming out of a 2-year isolation during the pandemic, still trying to figure out who I was and where I stood. And part of that journey happened in public. Part of that journey happened in private. It took time to understand where the line was for me, what I wanted to say, and most importantly, why. Long story short, I'm reactivating this channel. But not as an experiment, and definitely not with AI. I've got very specific ideas. I think we're in a cultural moment that really needs a different kind of voice right now. Something more grounded, more common sense. See, most commentary online still leans heavily left or center left. And while I started there too, over time I've made choices, sometimes some very unpopular ones, that pulled me in a very different direction. Toward values I held long before this channel even existed. Values I once put aside in favor of public approval instead of actually standing by them. So here's what to expect. I'll post when I actually have something to say. Maybe once a week, maybe more, maybe less, who knows. But when I do, it'll be real, it'll be focused, and it'll be rooted in common sense, not in the drama or mudslinging I once took part in. I'm not here to be the entertainment anymore. I'm here to comment on it, because frankly, that's what I do best.
Thankfully, his right-wing content hasn't got too much attention so far. His videos never get more than about 2,000 views, if that. They mostly stay in the hundreds. However, he is recently trying to get more attention by lashing out at other creators who are bigger than them. People like Vangelina Skov and Adam McIntyre. He went after Moist Critical. He went after, what's his name? Ryan something. Sorry, forgive me, I'm kind of talking off the top of my head here. So he's been trying to do a lot of that to get attention, and it's ridiculous. But just because he's not getting much attention yet, I still think this is something worth talking about because it's part of a bigger problem overall. Def Noodles, or Dennis, is American. He lives, to the best of my knowledge, in America. And that is a country at the minute where innocent people are currently being murdered in the streets by men working on behalf of the government. Families are being ripped apart. People are being kidnapped and taken away from their homes, their families. It's just absolute hell. It's disgusting to see. More and more people are living in poverty. Women are being denied healthcare. Trans people are being denied basic human rights. And so much more awful stuff is happening in that country right now. So when you have a person like Dennis, who used to have so much influence and still has a big channel with like a large number of subscribers, even if people aren't watching him again yet, he's trying to get more and more attention from this. When someone who was as big as him and as influential as him and who has the potential to be big and influential again is literally advocating for these things. He is literally advocating for the murders of innocent people because he is supporting what ICE is doing. That is a problem. For him to sit there and change his channel name to Mask Off with Deaf Noodles and start complaining about the left and feminism and going on homophobic rants and transphobic rants and talking about why he believes the information we have about the literal genocide in Gaza is fake, and when he's, like I say, saying that what ICE did, murdering innocent people in the streets, is completely justified and right, and he's okay with that, that is incredibly dangerous. Here's just one example of one of his homophobic rants against Adam.
Something that actually matters. I raised a serious issue, one that is underreported, avoided, and aggressively insulated from scrutiny by the mainstream media and many creators on the internet. Specifically, I challenged the refusal within the gay community to confront the issue of protecting predators. Some even criticized me for raising the issue at all, which only confirms that it is exactly the kind of issue that needs to be addressed. Heterosexual men report childhood sexual abuse at around 5 to 10%, while gay and bisexual men report rates commonly ranging between 20 to 40%, with some studies reaching as high as approximately 46% in specific clinical or community samples. And that raises a question that is almost never allowed to be asked. Who is abusing these boys? And why is this pattern treated as untouchable? According to research cited by Psychiatry Online, a study of 377 non-incarcerated pedophiles found that offenders classified as homosexual pedophiles, meaning they preferred male children, young boys, reported abusing an average of 150 children each, compared to an average of 20 victims among heterosexual pedophiles. That means that homosexual men, who are only 2 to 4% of the general population, victimize young children 7 times more often than heterosexual men. It's also fair to assume that within offender populations, homosexual men who target boys often have significantly higher victim counts. Now,
I just want to jump in for a moment, and I'm not going to talk to clip by clip like I normally do, but I want to clarify for a moment that Dennis's interpretation of this data is completely wrong. And I'm just going to read my script for this, if that's okay, just to make sure I'm as accurate as possible as I can be here. It's not that homosexual men are more likely to assault children than heterosexual men. It's that homosexual child predators are more likely to have a higher number of victims than heterosexual child predators, and one of the reasons for that is because they have easier access to their victims. It's not because there are more homosexual child predators, it's that they have easier access to their victims, so they're more likely to have a higher number of victims. This is not about gay or straight men as a whole, this is about child predators specifically. This does not mean if you're gay, you're more likely to be a child predator. This means if you're a gay child predator rather than a straight child predator, you have easier access to victims and so are more likely to offend. And when I talk about easier access to victims, what I mean is things like this. So like, how many parents do you know who would be fine with, for example, an adult man taking a group of young girls away on an overnight trip alone, for example? Because I don't know many of them. Even with CRB checks and stuff, you're a bit like, no, let's not let this lone man take a bunch of, 11-year-old girls away overnight on a sports trip or something like that. It doesn't happen, right? You usually have adults of the same gender as the children with them, right? It's just kind of a fact. It's completely normal to see, a sports coach taking an all-boys football team away overnight or something like that, because that's considered more acceptable than a male sports coach taking a team of girls away overnight, isn't it? And that's just one example. I'm not saying sports coaches are all predators. I'm just saying there's more circumstances where there are opportunities for adults to be alone with kids of the same gender as them. So it's not that gay people are more likely to be predators. It's that when you have people who are child predators, it's easier for the ones who are into kids of the same gender as them to have access to their potential victims. That's what it's literally about there simply being more opportunities. It's not that they're more likely to be predators, it's that they're afforded more opportunities by society because, you don't know someone's a child predator by looking at them. You don't know someone's sexuality by looking at them. So we just think, if they have a CRB check, if they seem like they're responsible, we'll allow them around kids, but you never really know. So it's just a matter of fact that sadly these people have more opportunities and they take advantage of them. Once again, it's a problem with child predators, not specifically people being gay or straight. And it's not just that as well. Dennis goes on to talk about how a lot of child predators who happen to be gay men have this high number of like young boys that they abuse and stuff like that. And again, there's a reason why so many young boys, especially when they're abused by other men or boys, don't speak up about it. And a big part of that is to do with how we socialize young boys. They aren't socialized to speak up when they're uncomfortable or hurt, and they're more likely to feel ashamed or blamed by the people around them for the abuse they face, especially if it's done by another boy or man. So their predators are more likely to get away with it and therefore have more victims. There are absolutely issues here, but they are not to do with what Dennis tries to conclude, which is gay people are more dangerous around children. It's not that. It's simply that child predators are a danger to children, and we need to make sure there are safety measures in place to help kids. And that at the minute, maybe they're not the best they could be because they are allowing certain people more access to victims. Now, I'm not saying this means we stop gay men being around children, as Dennis would like, because that's not the point, that's not the issue. Maybe it means things like never allowing adults to be alone with kids and always having 2 chaperones or 3 chaperones or so on and things like that. You know, there are ways we can kind of prevent child predators having access to children without making stereotypes and assumptions and causing more harm to everyone involved. Do you know what I mean? We don't help kids by blaming and persecuting gay people as a whole. That's nonsense. Absolute nonsense. The average gay person does nothing to harm kids. The average gay person is not a child predator, and so we shouldn't blame all gay people for the actions of a few. Just like there are a lot of straight child predators out there as well, and we don't go blaming all straight people because of, you know, the child predators who are straight, do we? I'm talking nonsense here. My script was supposed to help me and it hasn't. I just ended up rambling. My point is, this is not a queer person problem. This is a child predator problem. So like I say, to get back to like my overall message here, this is not just about some cancelled or failing creator crashing out online anymore and having a bit of a breakdown. This is about someone who used to have influence and wants to have influence again, who is now using that influence and his very large platform to spread a really, really dangerous message or messages. And Dennis is just one part of a bigger problem whereby struggling people in America are falling into believing the lies peddled by the right-wing government and right-wing influencers like the Charlie Kirks of the world, like the Nick Fuenteses, and so on. And then in turn, they are peddling these lies themselves. They're blaming all of their problems and other people's problems on people more vulnerable than them. And in turn, this is part of a larger problem, which ends up with innocent people losing their lives. And that's not an exaggeration, because we've seen 2 in the last couple of weeks. At least. They're just the ones happening publicly. God knows how many people are being hurt behind the scenes. Also, and this is part of the problem, Dennis doesn't give a damn about these people. He cares when someone that he agrees with gets hurt, but not when it's someone he disagrees with. Then he finds a way to justify literal murder, literal execution in the street. Listen to the difference in these next clips coming up in how he talks about the murder of Charlie Kirk versus the murder of Renee Good.
Hi, folks. Now, it's been a few days since Charlie Kirk was murdered at Utah Valley College, and I think it goes without saying that this was a political act of violence, an assassination, with the evidence pointing more and more to the assassin being somebody on the left, even though there is a lot of misinformation out there currently muddying the waters. But what I also wish is that the immediate reaction from the online left hadn't happened, because almost instantly, I saw videos on TikTok, on X, Threads, and Instagram filled with comments that were just absolutely vile, disgusting, and dehumanizing, posted by people who clearly have something profoundly wrong with them. And that's what made it so hard to read what people were saying about Charlie and his family. Because, folks, this is a father, a son, a friend, who was publicly executed in front of 3,000 people for the crime of having a difference of opinion. I think any reasonable person, regardless of political affiliation, can agree that the types of reactions we saw to Charlie's assassination were absolutely unacceptable. Valuing human life should be a universal principle, because if we're at a point where we're willing to dehumanize someone and strip them of their worth purely because we don't agree with their politics, then we're on a very dark path, folks. And I don't see any exit from it except more unthinkable violence. It's been nearly a week since Renee Good tried to run over an ICE agent with her vehicle and ended up getting shot, sadly choosing activism over raising her children. Now, ever since then, it seems as though the typical process of liberals completely losing their minds has taken place. It's a familiar cycle. It happened after George Floyd, Jussie Smollett, Covington Catholic, and every single instance of Democrat retardation we've witnessed over the last decade, even as ravenous extremist left-wing Karen agitators lose their minds over federal law enforcement doing their jobs, which is a good reminder that liberals will always abandon reason and side with performative politics over Americans. Case in point. Now, all that being said, commentators on the left like Joy Reid are bending over backwards trying to craft a narrative that actually paints Renee Good as some sort of victim who just happened to be there by mistake. She's a mother of 3 who abandoned her children to go do the patriotic thing and try to run over an ICE agent to save somebody who's here illegally from the legal immigration process. Ah, man. Is this working? Let's check it out. Democrats are out there defending a woman who was clearly an instigator and chose to go interfere with federal law enforcement instead of raising her children.
I'm sorry, but where's your criticism of Charlie Kirk choosing activism over raising his children, huh? Because you could argue Charlie Kirk did that far more than Renee Good did. But you don't say that he deserved to die for it, do you? No. Because you're a massive hypocrite. The difference in how he speaks about these victims of violent crime is absolutely repulsive. Charlie Kirk was murdered violently. He was executed in public. And that's a terrible thing. Renee Good was murdered violently. She was executed in public. And that is a terrible thing. We can't start justifying the murders of this person, but not the murders of this person. I don't care what you think a person has done or not done or whatever, or if you think they've committed a crime or not. I don't think you can justify the execution of a person. And maybe this is my Englishness speaking, or maybe it's just because I'm a decent person with compassion for humans, but possibly with the exception of like a child victim getting revenge on like an adult who raped and assaulted them, I don't think you can ever justify murdering a person because they've committed a crime. And the thing is, while the focus of this video is on Deaf Noodles, he's absolutely not the only one doing this. There's plenty of other cancelled and controversial influencers, YouTubers, creators who are now doing this as well. I never actually wanted to speak about her publicly again after the whole, like, disgusting, hateful things she said about me online, calling me an ugly bitch and so on, and getting her followers to send my dog death threats. But, I actually think, like, it's getting so serious now that I can't just stay silent, and I think I just need to call out Gabby Hanna for what she's been doing recently and in the last couple of years, because she is also doing this, like, right-wing pro-Christian nationalism content, and it's disgusting. She's not quite as overt as Deaf Noodles. She's not quite going down the whole, like, Christian nationalism thing yet, but she's very, like, pro-Christianity, pro-purity culture, and so on. So, after her, like, cancellation, if you want to call it that, a few years ago, and like when she started going on those rants, like calling me like, you know, stupid and ugly and blah 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 and all that nonsense, she then had a full-on mental breakdown. Anyway, after all that, she came back and she's posting like transphobic rants to TikTok, and now she's come back again with like her fundy refound Christian beliefs and stuff like that, and she's pushing them constantly on her audience. She's promoting purity culture. She is shaming other women repeatedly for what they wear, for not being modest enough, blah, blah, blah. And I saw an Instagram video of hers that it was posted online. I don't know when she posted it, but like within the last couple of days. But she said she wasn't going to speak out about ICE agents literally, again, executing innocent American citizens in the street. I'll keep saying it. That's what they're doing. You can't get around it. She said she wasn't going to speak out about that because what can she do? Okay, you'll have to excuse me because I can't find the original Instagram video anymore. It was like a story that I saw reposted somewhere and now I don't know where it was. I've been looking all over and I'm useless. But I found a TikTok of hers where she like addresses the backlash to that story and she tries to give an explanation and she's like, she just doubles down and like, but what can I do? What can I do? Sorry, she really annoys me. Really annoys me. So yeah, this is, the clip that I'm about to show you is not the video that I'm referring to in this video, but it's a response to the backlash to that video. It's the best I can do right now, I'm sorry. But to be honest though, this TikTok video is extra disgusting because she captioned it, "Ice Ice Baby." And in the comments, she replied to people saying that the reason ICE is out there murdering innocent people in the street is because God is allowing it to happen because we, by rebelling against him and not obeying him, have made the choice to not be in a covenant with him. So basically, because some people, like myself, are atheists, or other people follow different religions, we are the reason that apparently
it's okay that ICE are murdering people because God is letting it happen because we deserve it, apparently. It's all good. We deserve to have innocent people murdered in the streets. Disgusting. I'm sorry, it's absolutely repulsive. I honestly think she should be ashamed of herself. I really do.
So I got a message on Instagram that was like, why haven't you said anything about ICE? My response was, what can I possibly say? It feels like we have just reached this point of total depravity, and there's nothing that I can do or say to make it stop. So I just have to stay off social media. What do we do? I just genuinely don't know. And that's why I just like don't talk about it, because I'm just like, what do we do? I have no solution, because God is in control of everything, and we are suffering the consequences of our own actions as a people. We have just completely given ourselves over to Satan. We have given ourselves over to the evil and temptation of this world. So when we all on a molecular, like, group consciousness level decide greed, vanity, pride, selfishness, violence, hate, gossip, literally all of these things that only lead to harm, when we as a collective continue to act and move in that way, God takes note. It is biblical. It is biblical.
She says she's done enough over the years to speak out, because 4 years ago, while she was in the middle of her mental breakdown, she went on one TikTok rant about how, like, she was just staring at herself in the mirror, no details given, going, there's babies dying in the street, there's babies dying in the street, and that's it. She says that's her doing enough. And now she's made merch with those words on, and she says that's enough. She doesn't need to speak out about the execution of innocent people because she once made a TikTok saying there's babies dying in the street. Meanwhile, she is more than happy to repeatedly spam misogynistic Bible quotes on her TikTok videos and shame women for having nipple piercings, or for wearing a different bra to what she does, or for showing too much skin, or wearing leggings in the wrong place, like all this nonsense. She's more than happy to do that, but she's not okay saying, you know what, I'm not okay with my government kidnapping and murdering people. Apparently, what can she do? She only has, 2 million people following her on Instagram. What could she do, right? She goes on one rant, and I get tens of thousands of death threats, and so does my dog. But what can she do? She's not that influential. No, you've got a platform, speak up about it. Unless you support the execution of people. Sorry. I have a real problem with Gabby Hanna, if you can't tell. My hurt and my anger towards her has never gone away. Not just her either, though. Paul and Morgan, repeatedly over the last couple of days, mostly Paul, to be honest, has been posting all this pro-ICE stuff on his Instagram account, going on and on about what a good job they're doing, how it's justified that they're murdering people, blah, 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 this is okay. And he's like, yeah, Renee Good was gonna run this guy over, so he had to shoot her in the face. I'm like, no, he didn't. She was going at like 2 miles an hour, turning the wheels away from him, driving very slowly, trying to leave the situation, and he shot her point blank in the face like 3 times. He wasn't saving his own life. She wasn't going to hurt him so badly that he was going to die. You've seen the multiple camera angles. He wasn't anywhere near the car. He didn't need to do it. And he made the choice to take his phone out first and record the whole thing before getting his gun and shooting her. He had the time to step back and do all that. He wasn't in immediate danger. It wasn't life or death. His life wasn't at risk. He just chose to execute her in the street. And Paul is here posting all this stuff about why that's a good thing and he supports them. And it's like, scum. Absolute scumbag. Sorry. Deaf Noodles, though, Dennis, let's talk about him. He's doing things slightly differently to Paul and Morgan, he's doing things differently to Gabby Hanna, but he's still got the same sort of message. So like I say, he's come back with a Charlie Kirk-esque haircut, he's done the part, he's done all this stuff, he looks slimy as hell, he's wearing shirts now. He's flat out calling gay people pedophiles, he's saying feminism is destroying America, and he's claiming that because people aren't watching him anymore, then he's being persecuted and silenced by YouTube. Boo-hoo, grow up.
And today we're diving straight into how feminism is destroying America. It is destroying America, folks, whether people want to admit to it or not. At first, feminism was sold as a way for women to gain equal status in society, and once that status was achieved, it very quickly morphed into a full-on demolition crew aimed at the family unit, masculinity, and now basically every institution we rely on as a nation. From the army to the church, the feminization of American institutions has paved the road to soft Marxism on one end and a bizarre cultural flirtation with militant ideologies like radical Islam on the other. Now, she also declares without evidence that God doesn't exist and that Scripture is just anecdotal text. The irony, the New Testament is one of the most historically verified writings on the planet. Over 5,800 Greek manuscripts, more than 10,000 Latin manuscripts, and over 20,000 total across all languages, far more than any ancient text, whether Homer, Plato, or Caesar. Those manuscripts collectively affirm not only that Christ existed, but that early Christians believed in his crucifixion and resurrection. Calling the Bible anecdotal isn't edgy, it's just historically illiterate at this point. That underneath her whole argument is a quiet attempt at self-deification, replacing God with woman, replacing the soul with biology, replacing transcendence with this weird gender identity, whatever she has. That's not empowerment, by the way. It's just spiritual delusion. That YouTube is once again silencing different voices. Now, for those of you who followed my journey, you know that around 2022, I started distancing myself from the left. It coincided with me opening my comedy club, breaking away from, your typical leftist orthodoxies, doing edgier jokes. I just got tired of it. I got tired of acquiescing to every demand, constantly readjusting for the endless pronouns and every new expectation from the trans and the LGBT community. None of it made sense to me or to my faith. At the time, I wasn't comfortable speaking publicly about my faith, but I've always been a person of great faith. I literally worked for the Catholic Church for 3 to 4 years since all of that change happened. The more I've spoken openly from my conservative perspective, the less my videos have been suggested or recommended on YouTube. My analytics show it clearly. My videos barely get pushed. I have tens of thousands of subscribers with notifications turned on, all notifications turned on, but less than 1% receives them. My channel gets recommended only 16% of the time, which means most of my traffic, according to YouTube analytics, comes from people who literally have to search my name directly to find me. And when they do search my name, you don't even see my content. You see a bunch of hit pieces, which is not normal. Every other influencer, many of them bigger than me, smaller than me, when you search them up, the first thing that comes up is their channel and their content, but not me. Oh, and in case you haven't had enough of hearing people with weird accents tell you how to run your country, here's Ilhan Omar.
Apparently anyone who disagrees with him these days is low IQ, bad, deranged, or gay, according to the labels on his thumbnails. I doubt he'll ever see this video because who am I? But if he does, I don't doubt he'll call me ugly, stupid, a feminazi, a whore, blah, 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 all that nonsense. Because he's just projecting his own insecurities onto the people who criticize him because he doesn't actually have any valid arguments. So he's just like, they're so stupid and ugly. And it's like, no, grow up. His new channel description reads, "Welcome to Mask Off, a bold conservative commentary show hosted by Dennis Vetosa, aka Deaf Noodles. This is where the mask comes off, the truth comes out, and the left gets held accountable. From campus insanity and government overreach to media manipulation and moral collapse, Mask Off breaks down the cultural chaos with biting humor." Really? From Dennis? "Sharp analysis." Again, really? From Dennis? "And zero tolerance for lies," says the man believing all the lies the right is peddling. "Rooted in faith, common sense, and unapologetic honesty." Again, common sense? Dennis? Where? No. "This channel is a digital stronghold for the politically homeless, the spiritually grounded, and anyone who's done pretending the emperor has clothes." God's sake. And that's not all. He also has a second channel now, just called Deaf Noodles, I think, where he's posting even more of this absolute nonsense, including street interviews, again, where he just dresses up as Charlie Kirk, and he tries to trigger teenagers who are clearly more educated than him, and he just sits there and, argues with them, and he looks like an absolute fool. And once again, these teenagers are labelled as mad, gay, and triggered too, because Dennis has a limited vocabulary, and he doesn't know big words.
What did you specifically want to see happen, Ice?
I mean, I don't really, like, do they actually help anybody? I mean, like, there's nothing really that, like, we don't really need them. Like, what do they do? They just, like, brutalize people.
Do you believe we should have borders?
I don't know, man.
So you don't believe in borders?
I didn't say that. I said, I don't know, man.
I don't know, in a sense, means that you don't care either way. You're kind of indifferent, I guess, or you don't want to have an opinion, or?
Well, I usually like to do a lot of reading before I say, I say this or that position, and that one's one that maybe necessarily I haven't done enough reading to give.
Here's a follow-up then. Do you think it's necessary to have walls around your apartment or your home?
I think that that's different, man, and I think you know that. I'm just trying to help people out, man. I don't know really what this is about. I don't really want to debate. I'm just trying to learn and try to learn and figure out how I can help people. That's all.
That's
really
reasonable.
Is,
well, what do you know about the situation in Minneapolis?
Like I said, I'm just here to learn. Okay. I want to talk to people and learn about how I can help. That's really it. I'm not here to debate or do anything for a YouTube channel.
All right, sounds good. Cool. What's actually revealing here is not just that this guy refused to answer whether America needs borders, but why he refused. He hid behind, I like to do a lot of reading before I decide, as if the existence of borders is some obscure philosophical question rather than the most basic prerequisite of a nation state. And yet, while claiming neutrality on whether borders should even exist, he has no hesitation accusing ICE of brutality. That's not intellectual caution. That's moral relativism used as a shield. These people
because feminism, I don't think has.
So
that's
what the premise
has
is.
Anything to do with
That's the premise around this. Feminism is currently destroying America. At one point, it had a utility. Currently, it's not. Currently, the utility of it is to invert society. Part of the reason why the trans agenda is a part of the feminist movement is because they want to undo with the gender forms of gender expressions and gender roles. They want to undo masculinity as a whole. It's about coming after the patriarchy, right? That's why they're coming after young boys more and more to transition them into being women. That's why they're coming after young women. If statistically, it's more young men that are being transitioned than young women, but it's about subverting and undoing masculinity. As a result, it actually ends up having a more global Marxist goal of undoing the family unit, which is far more destructive to society than feminism itself. So
these people are suffering from such a deep level of ideological derangement that they genuinely believe they can just force this worldview into reality. Anyway, as far as our friend over here, notice how triggered he became by this whole conversation, okay? He got so worked up that not only does he start verbally attacking us, but he then proceeds to follow us everywhere. This guy became my #1 fan, folks, and as you'll see, he literally chases me around the entire protest for the majority of the rest of the video. So enjoy, because what comes next is just a bunch of leftist, Nerf-style revolutionaries completely losing their mind. Like I said, I haven't been really keeping up with it.
Next question.
So
you should just not answer. No, I know. It's fine.
He's gonna cut if he has a stupid fucking YouTube channel.
Trust, I know.
20 views. He's gonna be like, liberal owned.
So are we done? Are we finished here or what?
Hey, you wanna stick more shit in people?
Yeah, I just wanted.
Okay.
I was like 3 feet from you,
dude. Are we done or what?
Okay, so educate me on what's happening in Venezuela now that Maduro's out.
I just told you what happened.
So the Chavistas are still in.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's any?
Fucking loser.
Well, he is, but
Do you think there's any?
Like I say, he thankfully barely gets any views these days, but that doesn't mean he's not harming people who do watch his content. And this doesn't mean that because he does have such a large subscriber base that these videos could get shown to, it doesn't mean he doesn't have the potential for more influence and doing even more damage than he already is. And more importantly, I think it's worth talking about because his views are indicative of a larger problem in America. Even if he's not necessarily the one causing it, he's a symptom as much as he is a cause, you know? Some of his more recent content is literally about him fighting with what he calls woke Karens who oppose ICE in America, and him trying to claim that the literal war and genocide currently happening in Gaza is just a hoax, according to his thumbnails. Meanwhile, he sits around and makes up nonsense about murder victims like Renee Good, saying that she deserved to be murdered because she made some Facebook posts once. According to these next clips of Dennis, Renee deserved to die because she told people online to try and interfere with ICE arrests by pulling innocent victims away from them. Literally, apparently her inciting violence is her sharing an Instagram post where it says, pull innocent victims away from ICE officers. And she deserved to be shot in the face for that. In Dennis's mind, somehow this is unforgivable violence from someone like Renee. But again, an officer shooting her while she was completely unharmed, trying to leave the scene, an officer shooting her in the face is somehow justifiable. And not just that, in his mind, morally correct, morally good. This is absolutely what we morally should be doing. If you can justify shooting people in the face because of their Instagram posts, I'm just saying, if Instagram was around when Hitler was in charge, that's something he'd be saying.
Enforcement works. Paperwork matters. And the real crisis isn't racism. It's a system that refuses to demand assimilation, accountability, or gratitude from people who choose to come here and partake in a system and a country that was built through hundreds of years of struggle. That being said, there is more information being found about Minnesota Ice Watch, the extremist open borders group Renee Good was associated with, which wasn't just observing or filming ICE, it was actually actively posting Antifa-style de-arrest instructions on Instagram that explain how rioters can physically interfere with law enforcement to force the release of a suspect. The material explicitly frames each forced release as a micro-intifada, encouraging people to surround officers, grab detainees, break police grips, and overwhelm law enforcement until they let someone go. In plain terms, instructions for assaulting cops and obstructing federal operations. Not peaceful protest, not documentation, as the mainstream media would like you to believe, but the promotion of criminal interference with law enforcement framed as moral resistance. The exact kind of rhetoric that escalates confrontations and puts both officers and civilians at risk, as we've seen happen more often than anybody would like in the last few months. Even though this evidence is out there for anybody to come across and come up with their own conclusions, Democrats are out there defending a woman who was clearly an instigator and chose to go interfere with federal law enforcement instead of raising her children. Democrats hate accountability, folks. That's really what this is. These people will literally twist themselves into a pretzel instead of just doing the right thing, instead of taking accountability, instead of accepting that you're in the wrong if you choose to obstruct law enforcement action. With Good, it's the same move. Reduce a prolonged obstruction of federal officers to motherhood, as if family status negates her actual behavior. This isn't journalism clarifying facts. It's rhetoric designed to pre-decide the moral verdict by redefining who the audience is allowed to see and how. And it reveals something deeper about the moment that we're currently in. This is a media culture on the left that treats enforcement as inherently suspect, insists context is a smear, while reflexively reframing dangerous and illegal conduct as innocence plus victimhood. The result isn't accountability. It's a distortion that weakens public trust and shows how identity-first storytelling now overrides evidence in mainstream leftist discourse.
It's sickening. I think people should absolutely have the right to protest against acts of kidnap and violence done by the government, and they should not be murdered in the street for it. Again, maybe this is my Englishness showing, or maybe it's just my compassion for human beings. But either way, I think he's completely wrong. He displays absolutely no empathy or compassion. He forgets that these are real human beings who have lost their lives, and he thinks he can just make this quick, stupid content mocking them and downplaying their suffering so he can try and claw back a little bit of relevance, and it's sickening. What kind of world are we living in? Or what kind of country is America, where someone like Dennis, in response to his career failing, can turn around and say, oh, I know what I'm going to try and do to save it and earn back a little bit of relevance and try and earn a living again. I'm going to start mocking human suffering and justifying public execution. And again, you might say, well, it's just a YouTube channel. It's not a big deal. But we know that, in that last big video I made on Nick Fuentes, he said he was radicalized by online video content like this that just went completely unchallenged while he was growing up. So he just fell for it all and believed it. And now he's doing the same thing to other people. And that's not the only example either. So listen to this extract from the book, The Women of the Far Right, Social Media Influencers and Online Radicalization. This is mostly about kind of the female right-wing creators, so the Candace Owens, the Lauren Chens, Brett Cooper, that sort of thing, those kinds of people. But what's being said in this extract that I'm about to read you, all these extracts, is still relevant to people like Nick Fuentes, to Deaf Noodles, and so on. Exposure is the most important factor in radicalization and recruitment. Rather than preaching to the choir on alt-tech platforms, which is like alt-right tech platforms, far-right influencers are amplifying their views to a wide audience on mainstream social media platforms. Influencers rely on a mainstream audience to spread their message and recruit potential followers. Exclusive use of alt-tech platforms might help retain current followers, but drastically reduces the possibility of acquiring new followers. The book goes on to say, far-right supporters don't dramatically adopt far-right views overnight. The process of radicalization and recruitment, or vice versa, into far-right movements often happens incrementally. In listening to their radicalization stories on YouTube, I found that many of these far-right women influencers first became interested in politics by watching male YouTubers. So, let's not downplay the role that people like Dennis have, or that others have had on him, and understand that when people are spreading this hate, this misinformation, this like literal calls to murder, like, we've got to make sure we call out that behavior, and we don't reward him with views and money and praise. We call it out and we say just how wrong it is. We try and provide some sort of remedy to this absolute plague of nonsense that they're spreading. We cannot help incentivize the hate being spread by him and people like him. Are there people worse and more influential than Dennis out there? Yes, of course, and I actively speak about them all the time and call them out too. Like I say, I recently made a video on Nick Fuentes. It's a big deep dive that if you're interested, you can go check out. But we can't just let the smaller cases slip under the rug either, because for every big influencer like Nick Fuentes, like Charlie Kirk, like Brett Cooper and so on, they were small at one point too. They had a minimal audience. They were only getting a couple of hundred views or only a handful of people listening to them. But they grew and they got bigger because they weren't called out on it. So even these smaller influencers, I say smaller, like, I think his channel at one point, and still does, have like 500,000 subscribers. He might only be getting a few, tens of thousands of views every month now, but he still has that potential to be big. And what he's saying is wrong no matter what the size of the audience he's saying it to, so we need to call it out. Regardless of their audience size, hate is hate and misinformation is misinformation, and we can't just let it slide. And this might sound hyperbolic, but the fact is that what we're seeing in America at the moment is mimicking so much of what happened pre-Holocaust in Germany. America is a country which is unstable politically, economically, and socially, and because of this, people are vulnerable, just like people were in Germany following World War I and before the rise of Hitler. I read a few articles about this, which I'll link down in the comments below, but just to quote a few of them. In Germany, after the war, it created an environment where people were looking for someone to blame. This is arguably the exact same state that post-pandemic America is in with Trump as president. That article about Nazi Germany goes on to say there was a huge amount of scapegoating and a feeling that we'd been stabbed in the back by the Jews. It was nonsense, of course, but there was a real sense of wanting to believe it was someone else's fault. And it's very clear that in America there's some narrative going around that people have been stabbed in the back by immigrants, which again, of course, we know is not true, but they're scapegoating them. And when I say immigrants, I mean both legal and illegal, and to a slightly lesser extent, but on a wider scale, they're somehow blaming all people of colour for this. And people like Deaf Noodles, people like Nick Fuentes and so on, they're only pushing this agenda further. That article goes on to say that in the 1920s, at this point, the policy of the Nazi Party was removing citizenship from Jews and probably eventually expulsion. In terms of what actually happened, that was due to a whole series of circumstances. Hitler's reaction to those circumstances and a variety of different influences. At the core of it, though, was always Hitler and his desire to do something about what he called the Jewish problem. And this is exactly what we're seeing Trump is doing, and what he is pushing for, and what ICE is enforcing, removing citizenship and expulsion from the country to do something about the immigrant problem. Everything we're seeing now is a mimic of what we saw back then. The author of that article goes on to talk about not only Nazi Germany, but also what was happening with Stalin at other times as well. So it goes on to say that people enforced and committed horrific acts back then for a number of reasons. For example, members of Stalin's secret police said they took part in deporting people because if I didn't do it, I would have been shot, whereas Nazi officers say they took part because they felt it was the right thing to do. These are all the same reasons and things that we're hearing from both ICE officers and the people defending them. It's the right thing to do. Well, they have to do it. It's their jobs. They don't have another choice. In a separate article, almost ironically, from the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, they point out that wartime propagandists universally justify the use of military violence by portraying it as the morally defensible and necessary, which is exactly what Dennis and others like him are repeatedly saying in their content about the public executions that ICE are carrying out. They call them necessary. They call them morally They say that they're morally defensible in some way, but I don't understand how executing any innocent person in public is in any way morally defensible. Even if this person was a criminal in some way or another, unless they're actively in the process of murdering people right there and then, I don't think you can justify killing them. You know what I mean? The crimes they've apparently committed are, resisting arrest or being in the way or stopping someone doing their jobs. They are not crimes, in my opinion, worthy of execution or murder. Absolutely not. So like I say, we're seeing the start of patterns repeating. And if we don't call it out, if we don't speak up, if we don't do something, we're going to see it happen again. There's a reason people like Nick Fuentes are saying, we don't care about the Holocaust, we don't need to learn about that, no one cares, because he is very happy to sit back and watch it happen again. People like Deaf Noodles are spreading this propaganda that is justifying pre-Holocaust actions, essentially. He is absolutely okay with public execution of innocent people. He's absolutely fine with that. And we need to call that out. Dennis consistently dehumanizing victims of violent crimes by his government is disturbing, to say the least. And if he continues down this path, he will absolutely end up on the wrong side of history. I just want to end this by absolutely urging anyone watching this to please choose compassion and kindness over violence. And especially over violence in the name of nationalism or defense. Because it's not defense. It's just the result of fear-mongering. Please remember the actual human people behind all of this, and don't be like Dennis. Don't dehumanize these victims of violent crimes. And when it comes to people like Dennis and his content and people like him, I think it's important we don't give him those views, we don't give him that attention, but we do call it out. We do say this is wrong. We absolutely stand up to it. We say, you are wrong. You cannot justify murdering people. You cannot justify execution. You can't justify kidnapping and assault and violence in this way. It's disgusting. And the other thing that I haven't really touched on in this video is that, there's something so jarring about his content when you look at it, and he goes from being in one video, ha ha ha, this woman totally deserved to die, blah blah, let's go murder some more people if they interfere and get in the way, to then in the next one being ooh, let's call out this YouTuber because a couple of years back they said something I didn't like, and now I'm going on a vendetta because blah blah blah, aren't they ugly? It's so jarring. Again, the tonal differences in his content are disturbing, to say the least. And yeah, I don't know. Anyway, sorry. That's me done for today. This is very different to my regular content because it's less academic than I normally do. It's less point by point than I normally do. It's less in-depth and stuff. But I just felt the need to rant about this because it's been really bothering me and really upsetting me. And I'm not happy with the world right now. I don't even live in America, and I'm absolutely petrified for the people over there. It's disgusting to say the least. And I saw again, Paul of Paul and Morgan posted oh, but people die every day. There's atrocities being committed around the world every day. But yes, there are. And we should call them out too. Every genocide in the world right now, absolutely wrong. Every war, no, don't support it. When innocent people are being murdered, yes, we should absolutely speak out about it. But we can't be well, I justify this innocent person getting murdered because, well, there's others being murdered too, so I guess it's okay. No. Let's not do that. Let's not be like that, please. And I feel like going back to the Gabby Hanna topic, because there's something else I didn't say in there that I did want to, if she turned around and said, yeah, I don't really want to talk about this topic. I don't really know enough about it to speak out. I don't think I support it, but I don't really know enough. That would be fine. I'm not going to blame anyone for not speaking about something they don't know enough about. That is not a problem at all. It's better to stay silent than be loudly ignorant, But the fact that she's just like, well, what can I do? It's not really a big deal. I remember I screamed in a mirror a few years back, so I've done enough. It's like, no, stop it. You know exactly what you can do. You know exactly the power of having a large platform. You know exactly how much influence you have. You are choosing to stay silent whilst you then go on rants about like how trans people are terrible and women shouldn't dress like this and like, shut up. Shut up. Gabby Hanna's always been a terrible person and she's never going to change and she's never going to stop doing that. All she cares about is herself. And I think that's been shown here. Deaf Noodles. He's never been funny, he's never been smart, but now it's worse because he's not just being stupid, but he's being callous. He's being uncaring, he's being unkind, he's being actively cruel. And there's something very dangerous about that. Anyway, that's just my opinion about everything. Sorry I needed a rant and just get this all off my chest. Whew. I think this is just like a lot of pent-up emotion all coming out at once. Yeah, anyway, sorry. You might have noticed I don't have Kyra's snores in the background for once. And I miss her. I miss her snores so much. Don't worry, she's absolutely okay. She's just having a sleepover at my best friend's house tonight because caring for her has been a lot recently, and I think a lot of you who have seen my channel before know Kyra's going through a lot of health issues at the minute. She is thankfully 28 days seizure-free at the minute, which is fantastic, but she's suffering from a lot of side effects of her medication, and she's also struggling with her arthritis quite badly as well. She started recently on injections to help with the pain, but it's not quite helping yet, so she's upset a lot of the time. She's crying and whining a lot of the time, and she can't settle, which is difficult for her. She's having difficulty sleeping at times. She's also peeing a hell of a lot, so I'm constantly having to get up in the night with her and take her out in the early mornings and stuff like that. So other than when Joe's managed to take her for a little overnight sleepover, like he did it once last week and he's done it once tonight, which is wonderful. Love him for that. He's incredible. But other than that, I haven't had more than like 2.5 hours of uninterrupted sleep since the start of the year. So I'm completely exhausted and I just need a good night's sleep. I just need time to work and do this because obviously I can't film when she's here because she's crying and it's the whole thing. Yeah, it's difficult at the minute, bless her, and it's not her fault, it's absolutely not, but I just need a little bit of a break. She needs a little bit of a break. The new setting's actually really good for her, like having somewhere she can go and just like have some time to herself is nice. And she loves her Uncle Joe and he loves her, so that's all nice. But yeah, I just want to let you know that don't worry, she's still around, she's still okay. We're both just struggling a little bit at the minute, and she's gone for a nice little sleepover for one night, and she'll be back tomorrow morning, and everything is good. But I miss her when she's not here. I really do. Even when it's difficult, I really miss her. But yeah, I'm just exhausted, and I need a solid night's sleep. Gimme that 8 hours sleep. I haven't slept through a night in so long. So long. Oh, so anyway, that's also probably why I'm quite emotional and stressed. So yeah, I was a little bit ranty today, but thank you for watching. I appreciate your time. I hope you're all doing okay. Please, to anyone who is in America at the minute, please try and stay safe. Please look out for each other. Please just be nice to the people around you and take care and do what you can to help others. And yeah, most importantly, like I say, stay safe, please. But for everyone else, please let me know your thoughts down below. Sorry this is a little bit different from my normal content, but don't worry, I'll get back to being a little more level-headed soon, when I'm not quite so emotional. And we'll be doing some more in-depth stuff soon. I just fancied a bit of a rant, I think. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye.